Hold on tight, because the era of polite silence from the fashion world has just ended with a gavel strike that is shaking the foundations of Montecito. We aren't talking about a leaked story in a tabloid today. We aren't talking about a blind item on a gossip blog. We are talking about a superior court filing. We are talking about the most prestigious, protected, and powerful fashion house on Earth's SUES, reportedly declaring war on the Duchess of Sussex. And they aren't just asking for an apology. They are asking for $8 million, according to explosive new reports. Emerging from legal circles in Paris and Los Angeles, the House of Chanel has allegedly filed a lawsuit for systematic return, fraud, breach of contract, and damages to brand reputation. Number at the center of this legal storm is staggering. 47 is the number of high-couture garments, dresses, coats, bespoke suits that Meghan Markle allegedly purchased, wore for global photo ops, and then returned, claiming they were unworn, ill-fitting, or defective. But Chanel has receipts, and more importantly, they have the forensic evidence to prove that this wasn't just a sizing issue. This was a GRIFT. To understand the sheer magnitude of this scandal, you have to transport yourself to the atmosphere of the Chanel headquarters at 31 Rue Cambon. This is a place of hallowed ground. It is where Coco Chanel lived. It is where Karl Lagerfeld reigned. It is a place where honor and image are worth more than money. For years, luxury brands have whispered about the Sussex stylist trick. They whispered about items coming back, smelling of expensive perfume, or with faint traces of body makeup on the collars, or with the hemline looking just a little too worn for a brand new garment. But no one wanted to be the first to speak. No one wanted to be accused of racism or bullying by the Sussex PR machine. So they swallowed the costs. They wrote it off as marketing. But sources say the line was crossed in a way that could not be ignored earlier this year. The lawsuit allegedly details a specific incident involving a $120,000 vintage-inspired tweed gown. The dress was purchased by a third-party stylist, allegedly on Meghan's behalf, to avoid direct flagging. It was shipped to Montecito. 3 days later, Meghan was photographed wearing a dress that looked identical to it at a private industry gala. The photos were everywhere. The smile was blinding. The brand was polished then, 4 days later. The dress came back. The return form allegedly checked. The box for color did not match. Description. But when the archivists at Chanel, the women in white, gloves who treat these clothes like museum artifacts, pumped the box, the air in the room reportedly changed. It didn't smell like new fabric. It smelled of Suntel 33 and desperation. And there, on the inside lining of the hem, was a microscopic tear. A tear consistent with a heel catching the fabric. A tear that happens when you are walking a carpet, not when you are trying it on in a bedroom. That was the moment the silence broke. Chanel didn't just reject the return. They launched an audit, a full forensic audit of every single transaction linked to Meghan Markle, her stylists, and her shell accounts for the last 4 years. And what they found, according to these shocking reports, wasn't a mistake. It was an enterprise. The atmosphere in Montecito right now is described by insiders as hysterical. You have to imagine the scene when the process server walked up that long driveway. Meghan likes to control every piece of paper that enters her life. She edits the press releases. She edits the interviews. She edits the photos. But you cannot edit a lawsuit. When those papers landed on the desk, outlining the claim for $8 million, a figure calculated not just on the value of the 47 dresses, but on the devaluation of the pieces and punitive damages for fraud, the reality of her situation hit home. This is about the one thing Meghan has tried to buy her entire life. Class, you can buy a dress. You can marry a prince, but you cannot buy the respect of a house like Chanel. And when they decide to sue you, they are saying loudly and clearly, you are not one of us. You are a customer who violated the code. The $8 million figure is a statement. It's a number designed to humiliate. It's a number that says, we know you don't have the liquidity to fight this. It's a number that forces a settlement, which forces an admission. And that is what this script is about. The unraveling of the fashion icon, who wasn't wearing couture. She was borrowing it without asking, and trying to get her money back after the applause died down. Now we need to open the case file. We need to look at the deep dive into the evidence Chanel has allegedly compiled. because this is where the story shifts from a gossip column to a crime procedural. How do you prove someone wore a dress? In the age of 4K photography, it sounds easy, but legally, you need more than a photo. You need biological and physical proof. And Chanel, being the meticulous giants they are, reportedly has it all. The lawsuit allegedly outlines a technology that most people don't even know exists: micro-tagging. High-end couture houses, tired of influencers and celebrities wardrobing the industry term for buying, wearing, and returning, have started embedding microscopic, invisible threads into the seams of their garments. These threads change color when exposed to body heat for prolonged periods, specifically the kind of heat generated by wearing a dress for 4 to 6 hours at an event. They don't change if you just try it on for 10 minutes. They change when you live in the dress, according to leaks from the legal filing. 32 of the 47 dresses returned by Meghan's camp triggered this heat-sensitive dye. The threads, invisible to the naked eye but glowing under UV scanners in the return center. Meghan Markle thought she was outsmarting the boutique staff. She didn't realize she was fighting a chemistry lab, but the evidence gets grittier. The deep dive into the audit reveals the specific condition of the returned items. We are talking about details that destroy the Duchess of Elegance image. One item, a white silk cape coat, was allegedly returned with faint orange residue on the inside collar. The lawsuit reportedly identifies this chemical composition as a specific brand of spray tan. The very brand Meghan has been known to use. Another item, a structured blazer, was returned with the pockets still stitched shut, a common trick to make it look new. But the elbows, the fabric at the inner elbow showed micro-abrasions, consistent with holding a drink and bending the arm repeatedly for hours. The impossible logic here is undeniable. You cannot create elbow wear from trying on a jacket in front of a mirror. You create it by mixing cocktails at a networking event. Then there's the timeline analysis. This is where Chanel's lawyers have reportedly been ruthless. They have created a side-by-side visual exhibit. On the left, the date of purchase. On the right, the date of the return. And in the middle, the Getty image. Case number 14, a floral embroidered midi dress. Purchased June 4th, returned June 8th. The claim did not fit. The reality photographed on June 6th at a backyard garden party in Montecito. The photos show the dress fitting perfectly. No bunching, no pinning. It fit like a glove. So, the claim of defective sizing is legally perjury on the return form. Case number 22, a cashmere trench coat. Returned because it was too heavy, yet paparazzi shots show Meghan wearing that exact coat, draped over her shoulders in her signature style. Walking into a parking lot in Los Angeles 2 days prior, this is the deep dive that exposes the psychology of the grift. Why do it? Why risk a global reputation for a few $1,000s? Because insiders suggest it wasn't about the money, it was about the power. Meghan allegedly believed she was entitled to these clothes for free. In her mind, her wearing the brand was a gift to them. She gave them exposure. So why should she pay? When Chanel didn't offer to comp the items because Chanel famously does not pay celebrities to wear their clothes, you pay them, she decided to take matters into her own hands. She created her own endorsement deal by forcing the returns. The lawsuit reportedly mentions serial returner behavior linked to specific credit cards and IP addresses associated with Arkewell and the Sussex household. It maps out a pattern. A dress is bought on a Monday. An event happens on a Wednesday. The dress is returned on a Friday. The cycle repeats. It is the rhythm of a scam. And here's the most humiliating detail of all. The lawsuit allegedly seeks to subpoena the unwashed garments that were accepted back into stock before the pattern was caught. Chanel is essentially saying, we have your DNA on file. They are holding the dresses as evidence. The sweat, the skin cells, the hair strands, they are all preserved in an evidence locker in Paris. This destroys the clean girl aesthetic Meghan tries to project. It paints a picture of someone who is physically soiling luxury goods and then trying to pass them off to the next customer. It is a violation of the hygiene and trust that underpins the entire luxury market. And for a woman who branded herself on etiquette and grace, being accused of returning dirty laundry to Chanel is the ultimate stain. So how did she get away with it 47 times? This brings us to the hidden connection, the network of enablers who made this operation possible. You cannot run a return fraud scheme of this magnitude alone. You need a mule. You need a face. You need a ghost stylist. The lawsuit reportedly names 1 to 10 unnamed defendants who acted as the purchasers. But industry whispers are screaming one name, or rather, a type of person: the Mulroney method. We know that Jessica Mulroney, Meghan's former best friend and stylist, was the queen of the borrow and return game in Toronto. It's an open secret in the stylist world that this is how you dress clients who don't have the budget for the looks they want. You pull, you pin, you shoot, you return. Meghan reportedly learned this craft at the knee of the master. But when she became a duchess, she was supposed to leave those gritty tactics behind. The crown pays for clothes, the king pays for clothes. But once she left the royal family, the Bank of PA closed. And suddenly, Meghan had to fund $1 million wardrobe on a private income. This is where the hidden connection gets dark. Sources suggest that Meghan didn't just use professional stylists. She allegedly used Archeo employees. The lawsuit hints at assistants and house managers using company cards to buy these items, putting the liability on the foundations, books initially, and then refunding the money back to the foundation once the return was processed. If this is true, and if the audit proves that charitable funds were used to float the cash flow for these dresses, this goes from a civil suit to potential charity fraud, using donor money to buy a Chanel bag, wearing it, and then returning it to put the money back. That is a financial shell game. The report also touches on the Soho House mentality. We have to bring Marcus Anderson back into this. The culture of everything is free for the cool kids is deep in Meghan's DNA. The hidden connection here is the entitlement of the influencer class. They believe that rules are for the civilians. Meghan walked into Chanel thinking she was a deity. She thought the sales associates were her servants. She didn't realize that the woman scanning the dress was actually a gatekeeper for $1 billion corporation that has better lawyers than she does. There is also a whisper about the tags. Remember the security tags. To wear a dress to an event, you have to hide the tag. The hidden connection reveals that Meghan allegedly mastered the art of the tuck and tape, using medical tape to bind the tags to the inside of the garment so they wouldn't show in photos, but wouldn't be cut, which voids the return. The lawsuit allegedly contains photos of dresses, returned with sticky residue in the armpits and along the zipper. Lines resulted from the tape used to hide the evidence. This is the behavior of a college student trying to scam a fast fashion website, not a middle-aged duchess living in a palace. The juxtaposition is jarring. It shows a frantic, desperate need to keep up appearances without the substance to back it up. She is dressing for the job she wants, Queen of Hollywood, but using the tactics of the job she had cable actress. The ghost stylist angle also protects Meghan, or so she thinks. She will likely blame the assistants. I didn't know they were returning them. I thought they were gifts. I thought I was keeping them. But the 47 dresses tell a different story. You don't accidentally return 47 items. You don't accidentally tape tags. This was a system, and the hidden connection proves that the system was designed from the top down. We have reached the verdict, the final act where the hammer falls. And for Meghan Markle, the sound of that hammer is the sound of a door locking. Chanel's decision to sue is the nuclear option. Brands almost never do this. They fear the bad press. But they did it because they wanted to send a message to the entire industry. She is unsafe. And the message has been received. The verdict is the immediate and total blacklisting of Meghan Markle from the world of high fashion. This is the Schadenfreude climax. We are already seeing the fallout. Dior, Silence, Givenchy reportedly scrubbed her name from their internal VIP lists. The days of custom couture are over. Meghan is now facing the influencer's nightmare. She will have to pay retail, and worse, she might be banned from even doing that. Luxury boutiques reserve the right to refuse service. Imagine the scene. Meghan Markle walks into Hermes in Beverly Hills, and the security guard politely steps in front of her. "I'm sorry, madame, we cannot accommodate you today." That is the future she has bought for herself. The lawsuit for $8 million will likely be settled out of court. Meghan cannot afford the discovery phase. She cannot afford for her assistants to be deposed. She cannot afford for the spray tan photos to be shown to a jury. She will pay, or Harry will pay. But the money is irrelevant. The reputation damage is permanent. The crown, as always, wins by doing nothing. They paid for her clothes when she was a working royal. They have the receipts, they have the ledgers. And now the contrast is blinding. When she was with the Windsors, she was elegant, funded, and protected. Alone, she is allegedly taping tags and running return scams. The verdict also extends to her brand partners. Who wants to sign a deal with a woman being sued for fraud by Chanel? It makes her unbrandable. It screams liability. WME, her agency, is reportedly pulling their hair out. They can spin a lot of things, but they cannot spin shoplifting with extra steps. And let's not forget the humiliation of the number 47. It's a number that will follow her. It's a joke that will be told at every Fashion Week party in Paris, Milan, and New York. Did you hear about the Duchess watch your samples, or she wear them to a gala and return them tomorrow? She has become a punchline in the very world she tried to conquer. As the lawsuit moves forward, Meghan is left in her mansion with a closet full of clothes she technically doesn't own and a reputation she can no longer return. She wanted to be a fashion icon. She wanted to be the modern Diana. But Diana was a muse. Meghan, according to Chanel, is just a customer with a bad return history. The $8 million lawsuit is the receipt for the life she tried to fake. And now, the bill has finally come due. The anti-gossip frame we started with has proven truth. This wasn't rumors. It was a cold, hard, legal reality. The fraud is exposed, the dresses are logged, and the Duchess is effectively naked in the eyes of the world.